In this video, we're going to be learning HTML. You'll learn how to create an HTML document from scratch, all the essential tags in HTML, how to structure your HTML page, what things like head, meta, body, header, footer, main, what these things mean. We're going to be using our terminal and saving this project to GitHub. I recently made some videos about that. You can find them in the Become a Developer playlist on my channel. Let's get started. First thing you'll want to do is open a terminal. I'm going to cd into my documents folder and the Become a Developer folder we've been using in this series. If you ls into it, you can see the test folder, the app, my first project. We're going to create a new directory. I'm going to call it HTML-project. If you say ls, you can see the project has been created now. Let's cd into that project. Within there, we'll say touch to create our index.html page. And you can also just say space because we also want to create an index.css page and an index.js page, which is a JavaScript page. Click enter or return. If you say ls now, you'll notice all three of those documents have been created. And now we're going to use this code dot command that we set up in our first video. So again, if you haven't watched those videos yet in this series, you may want to watch that. This opens our project up directly from a terminal. If you haven't got all that installed yet, you can just open up VS Code, say file, open, find your project in your folder. Just click the whole directory, HTML project, and click open. That works too. Go ahead and open up this HTML page. A cool thing about VS Code is you can say exclamation mark. If you click return, it'll just go ahead and create a basic HTML document for you. It's a quick way to create new HTML documents, but I'm going to undo this and we're going to create the HTML document from scratch just for the practice. So one of the things to know when you're creating HTML is we're going to be using these, when I was going to school, they call it caret characters. They look a lot like carrots. So anytime you create an element or a tag, you want to enclose it with carets like this. So we'll create a left caret and just say exclamation mark doc type. And this can be lowercase or uppercase. It doesn't matter. The doc type specifically, you can make that uppercase or lowercase, doesn't matter. Say HTML and then put a right caret, click return. Next, we'll do a left caret, say HTML, right caret, and you'll notice Visual Studio will just go ahead and close off the caret for you. But let's go ahead and just do this together. So put a left caret. The way you close off your tags is you put / and then the name of the tag. So since we just created an HTML tag on the left side, on the right side, we want to say / HTML. In the middle, click return. And now we're going to put some things within the HTML tags. The first thing is called head. We'll close that off. And from now on, we'll just let Visual Studio close it off for us. Click return. This head tag is where you put what's called your metadata. It's used in search engines and for things like your title. So if you went to google.com, you'll notice up here on the tab, there's the name Google is up here. The way you would do that, update the name of that page, the title, there's something called title. So we're going to enclose title and I'll say my HTML project. And in a moment, when we open this up on a web browser, we'll be able to see that name up here, which I'll go ahead and open up the project so you can see. So the way you can open it up on a web browser is go to your document, find the HTML project, and you can just click on index.html, right click, say open with Google Chrome or whatever browser you're using. And you'll notice there's nothing on the screen, but right here it says my HTML project. So that is how you update your title. The next thing I want to show you how to do is how to update this image right here. You'll notice right here with Google, they put their G icon there. The way you do that is under your title, there's something called link. And you'll notice with link, it did not self-close it like that. The reason is link is a self-closing tag. You don't have to put anything in the middle of it. And I'll show you what I mean. mean. So what you'll want to say is rel, and in rel, it says this is an attribute, names a relationship of the linked document to the current document. With this, after you say rel, say equals, and then after equals, put quotation marks and say icon. This next part, say type equals quotation marks. We're going to say image because this is an image, and we're going to be using a PNG file. So you can say /PNG, then say href equals quotation marks. Next, we'll go to google.com and say HTML icon. We'll just look for HTML icon and we'll say PNG specifically. And I think this one here looks good. Actually, let's go with this one right here. I think that's a good one. So once you find one you like, right click, click save image. You can name it whatever you want. I'm going to actually name it fav icon because these icons up here are actually called fav icons. So whenever you find an icon you like, you can just say fav icon dot whatever file type it is. I'm going to save that. I'm going to drag this onto my desktop right there. And sometimes it won't go where you put it. It'll go over here. So I'm going to drag it back over here so I can easily see it. And then what I'm going to do is you can click this here. This is called your Explorer in Visual Studio. Here are all the files in your project. Within this project, I'm going to create a folder, which you can come up here. There's a plus sign by a folder. You can click that button. I'm going to say images. And now I'm going to drag this favicon.png file into this images folder. All right. And so now this is ready to reference. So in here, what href is the link to the file you want to use. A way you can reach this images folder is say /. What this does, if you're saying /, you're saying reference, you're able to now access all the files that are on the same level as this index.html file, whatever file you're inside of at the time. And what we want to do is go to this images file here. So we'll say /images to get to the images file. And then if you say / again, now we're going down into the images file and we're going to access this fav icon file .png. And now if we go back to our page and click refresh, you'll notice the icon has changed. It's now the fav icon that we just downloaded. There's a couple more meta tags I want to show you. So say left caret meta, and don't close this one off because this is also a self-closing tag. We're going to say name equals quotation marks description. So this is again used for search engines. Whenever your website would come up on a search result, this would be the description that would show up. And for the content of the description, you can say whatever you want. I'll say this is my first HTML page, and then you can end the caret, put a right caret, and normally you'll take the space out from the end of the caret. It doesn't really matter. You can leave a space or you can take it out. Enter, we're going to create something else called meta, which again, this metadata is just used in search engines. For this next thing, I'm going to say name and I'm going to say keywords. For keywords, these are words that I'm hoping that Google or something like that, when someone searches these, my website will show up. And so I will say something like HTML, tutorial, and then you can separate these by commas. So I'll say comma, I'll just say HTML. Maybe you could say template since this is sort of an HTML template. Put a right caret. These are the essential head tags that you'll be using all the time. A good thing to know here is there's a lot of useful meta tags. There's meta tags specific to social networks. Like Facebook has their own meta tags that they like to use. Twitter has their own meta tags that they want to use. So if you want these to be very shareable whenever you create a real website, you'll want to go through and make sure to look up what are the specific meta tags for Facebook or what are the specific meta tags for Twitter. Because if you use the meta tags that they want you to use, whenever your post or your page is shared on their social network, you can make it look better. Like you can have a specific image show up on Twitter or a specific image show up on Facebook when you share it, things like that. So any kind of data that you don't see key that can be used by another website, like Google for search, Facebook for sharing, Twitter for sharing. Those are called meta tags, and you can just Google those. All right, so that's it for the head. Again, the head is for where you house everything that you don't really see. This next part is where we put everything that we do see. You could put what's called body, close that out, and we're going to put stuff inside of the body. But within the body, this is where you see everything that's on the page. And here are some things that are normally on a page. The first thing is called header. This is what you see at the very top of the page. And within here, we'll just create something called H1, and that stands for header 1 element. So it's basically just big text. And I'll go back. You'll notice there's 6 different header tags built into HTML. Each new letter gets a little smaller. So H1 is the biggest, H2 is a little bit smaller but still big, H3 is a little bit smaller than H2, and so forth. But we're going to just say H1, and within there we're going to put our text. I'm just going to say header, and now underneath your header there's normally something called nav for navigation. You can close that off, and we'll go ahead and create a basic navigation. You can put something called UL, and what this represents is a list of items. We'll close that off, and within the UL we'll add our items. The way you add your items within a list is you say LI each time you want to create a new item. If you close that off, we'll create something called a link. The way you do that is you do you just say A, and then href to link to whatever page you want to. You'll notice it's the same as this link up here, href. Href is just a way of saying a link. What link do you want to go to? I'm just going to put a hashtag here because we don't want to go anywhere right now, but I just want to show you the effect. But normally, if you had if this was a real project, maybe in your tree over here, you might have something called home.html as an example of a page. And maybe I'll just go ahead and show you this for an example. So you could create a folder. Maybe you could call that folder pages, and then you could drag this home.html within the pages file. You create another one. Maybe you could call it dashboard, or maybe about. We'll say about, and we'll just stick with these 2 links for now. We'll go ahead and use this quick tool. So for home, you can say exclamation mark, return, and then within the body tag, say H1 again, say this is my home screen. And then in the about file, you can say exclamation mark again, put an H tag in here, H1 tag. This is my about page. All right. So instead of putting the hashtag here, actually, we'll say, remember how you can say dot slash. We'll go down to this pages folder, and then within there, we're going to go to the home.html. So now we're actually linking to this home page. Put a right caret, and then now within, and just so this is a little easier to read, I'll go ahead and do it like this. Put the LI like this, put the A tag within the LI, the list item. And now you can put text here. I'm going to say home for this text. And now still within this unordered list, this UL, we'll put another list item, click return, and then we'll put another href, and A again is just a way to create a link. So now when we open up this page, we'll be able to click on home, and now we're going to say dot slash pages slash about, and we'll just change this text to about. Let's go ahead and see how this looks. Let's go back to our browser, click refresh. Now you'll notice here's our header, and I'm going to click this home button, and there it took me to my other page. You'll notice the link up here updated. It went to pages slash home. You can click back and click on the about link, and then it took me to my about page. So yeah, that's how you would create navigation, and you could continue on if you want. I'm gonna go ahead and move on. Something else that's normal to put within a nav bar is sometimes you can put a search bar that can be used for navigation, and I'll use this to go ahead and show you how to create what's called a form. So you can say form. Within the form, we're going to add something called input. And for type, you can say search. This is going to be a search bar. And we can just say name, Q. This is for query. And there's something within an input called a placeholder. This is the text that's going to appear inside of the input if there isn't any text in it already. You could just say search here. And for this input, you could put / right caret to close out the input. We're going to create another input. For this one, we'll say type submit. What this means is this is basically, it's going to be a button. And for value, I'll just say search / right caret. Within this form tag right here, there's something that you can create called action. And within here, this is where you specify what you want to happen when someone clicks submit. Normally, you would want to start using something like JavaScript at this point, which we'll learn about in a future video. So if you're interested in that, you'll want to make sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when that video comes out. But for this video, all we're going to do is we're going to go to a search page. So I'm going to go within pages again. I'm going to create a new page, call it search.html. Again, within here, we're going to say exclamation mark, return, and here we'll create an h1 tag and say this is my search page. Come back to the index.html. Within this action, I'm going to say ./pages/search. What this should do is when I click search, it should take me to this pages. Again, in the future, though, you'll be learning about JavaScript and you can take the value of, say, your input, whatever is typed into this input, so that whenever someone clicks submit, you can use that value search to be used in a search query to find a page, something like that. But for now, this is a good example for this HTML project of how this works. So let's go back to our page, click refresh. You'll notice, see, the search bar is there. I'm going to say this is my search. Let's see what happens when I click search. And as you can see, it took it to my search page. And once you learn JavaScript, again, you could end up, you'll notice up here, the Q, which is this name value that we added here, it's updated to say Q equals this is my search. Well, the way this will work in the future is once you go to this search page, you can use JavaScript to say, take the value of Q and use it to do something. So you could say, take the value of Q, which is this is my search. And then you could say, return something based on that. Like maybe if there any of the pages have a tag with a matching keyword, make that page appear here. And remember in the index page, how we added some keywords here, you could then use that in your search engine, something like that. But that goes outside of this. This is just meant to be a basic HTML tutorial. The next couple things I wanted to show you, there's something called main. You can create a main tag. This is like what's in the body of your page. And just so you can visualize this, underneath that, I'm also going to go ahead and create something called a footer. And this is what would go at the bottom of the screen. And so in the footer, I'm going to create something called a P tag, which just stands for paragraph. And within there, I'm going to say footer. And maybe actually just to show you how the H tags are a little different, I'll say H3 so that you can see how it'll be a little smaller than the H1 tag. And within your main tag, there are some elements that it's good practice to use. The first one I wanted to show you is called article. So say you're writing a blog post or something like that, you might want to wrap it within the article tags. That kind of lets Google and things like that know that whatever is within the article tag, that's what this article is about. So all the content within here, it knows is the content of the blog article. And so within this article, we're going to go ahead and create an article. We'll say H2, since this is a little bit smaller and lower on the page, we'll just say H2 and say article title. And under that, we can create a P tag, which just stands for paragraph. And within there, you can look up something called lorem ipsum on Google, and it'll show you different example paragraphs that I think are in Latin. And then it's also built into VS Code. So you'll notice as I'm typing this, it'll give this example here. If I just click tab, it'll create this fake paragraph for me. And if you don't want it to go across the screen like that, you can update the view. Go to view in your VS Code, come down here to where it says word wrap, click that button. It'll wrap the paragraph for you. I'm just going going to copy this and paste it a couple more times. And maybe after the first paragraph, I'm going to create an H3 tag and say subheading. So now HTML, Google knows this is the content of the article that I'm writing. Underneath article, I want to show you something called aside. What this is going to do is it's going to add content to the side of your page. Within here for the heading, I'm just going to say H2 related. And maybe this is, maybe this part of the page shows related articles. And so we'll create another unordered list, a UL. And within there, remember to create a list item, you would say LI. And within there to create a link, we're going to say A. And for href, we'll just go ahead and link to our 3 different pages. We'll say /pages/home. And within there, I'll say home. A cool thing with Visual Studio is if you go to the end of a line, and on a Mac, it's Command C, Command V. So first, and on a Windows, I think it's Control C, Control V. So if your cursor thing is here at the end of a line, I'm going to just say Command C, Command V, and Command V again. And it just duplicates the line that you're currently on. Another option is just to go ahead and copy the whole line, click copy, paste. But that's just a quick way, a quick little tool you can use to copy lines and duplicate them quickly. So for this one, I'm going to change, instead of saying home.html, I'm going to say about, change this text to about. Here, I'll switch this one to search, change this one to search. And let's go ahead and see what that looks like. So I'm going to go back to the home page, click refresh, and there we go. You can start to see it. We can see Google knows that everything here is the article itself. So it knows that's what the content of the page is about. It knows this aside is not part of the content of the page. It's just another basically nav bar that's within the main section of the HTML page with related links. So that's an example of how you would create a page for like an article, for like a blog. Just to show you as an example, if you go to the home page, if say this is not a blog, say this is just a web page, let's go ahead here for instead of this is my home screen, let's change this to header, and you'll want to make sure to close that one out. I'll go ahead and H1 say again, this is my home screen, and I'll go ahead and create a footer too, say H3 footer, and then between both of those I'm going to say main again. Now say this isn't a web article, an article, a blog article, and it's just a normal web page. Well, best practice is to split your page into what are called sections. You have a top section, and then maybe a middle section and a bottom section. Basically, you could base it off themes, like maybe the top section is about something, like maybe this I'm gonna say for the header, I'll say animals. And then in this section, I'll have an H3 tag for a subheading, and I'll say cats. And under there, I'll go ahead and create a P tag for a paragraph. Say cats are terrible to some people. I'll just go ahead and say that for the cat lovers. I'm sorry if you like cats. I sometimes like cats, not all the time though. Let me know in the comments below if you're a cat person or not. Okay, and the next section, maybe the next section is H3 for a subheader. Say dogs. Under there, I'll have a P tag. Actually, dogs are the best. So if you're a dog lover, let me know in the comments below. And then in this section, H3, I can say my son likes lizards. Or no, hold on. So this is the header, say lizards. And then under that can say P tag, my son likes lizards. All right. And so that's an example of how you can do that. Another one of the last things I'll show for this video, within a section, there's something called a div tag. This can be used to divide things even further. So, and a lot of this will start making a little bit more sense once we create a CSS video, which will be the next video. So again, you'll want to subscribe, hit the bell icon to learn about CSS. One of the good uses for a div is for styling purposes. This section tag is really more for like search engine optimization, for like Google, to let Google know this is a section of a page. A div can be used with something that you would call a class, and within the class, you could name it something like cat container or something like that. And then this could then be used in CSS to style. Maybe you want to wrap the cat's container inside of a box. And maybe instead of just cat container, we could just call it animal container so that it's more generic. And then you could wrap the others in it too to make this. Maybe you want to add like a border around a box or something for each animal that all looks the same. We won't go through that in this video. Again, that'll be in the next video about CSS styling. But I did want to just go ahead and show you this for now. You'll notice in HTML pages, there are things called divs. And a lot of times it's useful for styling purposes. If you want to maybe put the content of something within like a box on the screen, you could do it like that. The last few tags I wanted to show in this video are styling tags. You can actually style things directly in HTML. So one example is you can say left caret, say I, close out that caret. If we moved terrible within the I carets, what this I does is it's going to italic the text so it'll be sideways, and we'll see that in just a moment. Around dogs, we're going to make it bold. There's something called strong that you can use to bolden your text. So I'm going to put dogs there so that the dog's text is boldened, made darker. And down here for lizards, I'm going to say U, which represents underline, and I'll put that there. And there's also something called line break, and maybe I could show you here. So maybe we wanted to add some extra line spaces between the animal names and the characters. Well, you could just say BR and close out that by saying slash, just like that. I'm going to copy this. Maybe we'll have 3 different line breaks so you can really see it. I'll put the same thing here under dogs, lizards. What this will do is it'll add some line breaks underneath the text, so it'll make the paragraph be further away from this header here. All right, and I think that looks good. Let's go ahead and see how all that looks. So I'm going to refresh the page. So this home page, this index page is our blog article that we created. And now let's go to this homepage, related homepage that we just created. And there you go. You can see we've created a new page about cats. Those line breaks made the text be very far away from the headings. And now just for practice, because it's good practice, you can go to github.com. If you haven't created an account already, you can. It's free to sign up. There's no credit card required. Once you're logged in, you can click new repository, name it what you want. I'm going to say my dash first dash HTML dash project, and I'm going to make this public, say create repository, and you can just copy this whole thing here. Don't worry about the echo part there. Just copy from get init, and I'll make this a little bigger. Get init down. You can copy this whole thing. Come here, back to your project, click view terminal to open up your terminal, and it should be within this project. You want to say ls just to make sure all the files are within the project. Make sure you're at the root of your project, and then you can paste what you just copied there. And the only thing to update is the git add thing. Instead of saying readme.md, just say git add dot. And what this will do is it will add everything within this project will be added to this commit. And now you can come back down here and just click return. You can just do all of this all at once. And now if you come back to GitHub and refresh, now your project has been saved here. And then again, whenever you want to make an update, like I'll just, for the index, I'll say about page, just as an example. Then from then on out, you can say git add dot git commit dash m, another update, something like that. This is your message. Remember what you just changed. So actually I'll say changed about link text, and then you can say git push, and this will officially save it to your GitHub account. So if I come back here and click refresh, it'll show me, okay, I changed some text with the HTML. This is just really great practice. Anytime you're creating a project, go ahead and save it to GitHub so you don't lose the project. And if anything ever happens to your computer, it's always saved to GitHub as a backup. And yeah, that is HTML. Was there anything that I did not cover that you have questions about? Let me know in the comments below. Again, we'll be talking more about CSS and JavaScript in future videos. So you'll want to go ahead and subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified of those videos when they come out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.